Hello and welcome to a special edition of Football Express. I'm Stephen Looney and joined in the studio today, Mark McIntosh as ever, and we are delighted to have a very special guest in today. It's Mr. Jim Boyce, former president of the Irish IFA and famous Cliftonville aficionado. He's a famous side up at Solitude. We're going to have a general discussion about football. We'll start with Jim actually. There's some things I want to talk to you about and then we'll widen it out into the football arena.
Pleasure to be here first of all, Steve.
Thank you very much, Jim, and thanks for coming. I want to get straight in with the serious questions, Jim. Who had the sheep's jacket first? Was it you or John Motson?
John Motson.
Really?
He had it first. I think I've already told the story of how I got it in Germany and how I went to the shop 3 times, didn't buy it. We were ready to leave to come home and I said, I can't resist not buying. And thankfully I still have it to this day. It's nice and warm at the minute.
Brilliant. I always remember, like, if I think about Jim Boyce, it's up, beside the dugouts, at Solitude in the grassy knoll. Now, Jim, you've spent a lifetime in football, both in Northern Ireland and internationally, and we're going to come to that. But first off, I want to invite you to tell us about, you're having a special dinner in March this year.
Yeah, and Stephen, can I first of all thank you and the football writers for taking the table. It's been absolutely phenomenal. I have 326 confirmed people at the minute, including 4 from Malta. The president of Luxembourg is a good friend of mine. Obviously past Northern Ireland managers like Sammy McIlroy, Laurie Sanchez, obviously Pat Jennings and his wife are coming, Jerry Armstrong's coming. I could name a list of people, but I'm absolutely thrilled because I can honestly say to you, of all the people that were invited to come to the dinner, I probably have had no more than 2 or 3 people who have apologised because they're not available to do it. But I'm looking forward to it. It's for a very special cause. I don't think it's any secret that many people know it's difficult at home at the moment with Hazel. My brother-in-law, sadly, he's in a home. At least I still have Hazel at home, and for that I'm very grateful. But all of the profits will be going to Alzheimer's Northern Ireland, and I'm very hopeful that night that we will raise quite a bit of money. But it's a big night. The girl, Carly Pauly, who's very world famous, she's coming over to sing at the dinner, which is tremendous. And I've got Club Sound, I've got Shimmy McPeak, and various other people. So how I'm going to cram it all into 4.5 hours, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Sean. We'll come back to you in a moment. But Mark, from our point of view, I mean, we get invited to a lot of dinners, but this is, I mean, not only, I'm not blowing smoke, Jim, the respect and the standing that you have within Northern Ireland football, but we've just heard there, Mark, the array, the galaxy of stars that are coming over, that shows you the standing that Jim's felt in.
Yeah, look, it tells you everything you need to know about Jim Boyce the person. Forget Jim Boyce the football administrator and ambassador and all of that. Jim Boyce the person. You know, people are falling over backwards to get there. Everywhere, like, we've travelled the world watching Northern Ireland, everyone knows Jim Boyce. You know, Jim Boyce is Mr. Northern Ireland, and I know that maybe hasn't gone down well since Jim maybe left office at the IFA all the time, but it tells you everything you need to know. And it's going to be an incredible night, you know, and he's certainly deserving of it. And as you rightly say, let's hope we can all raise a lot of money that night. And the only thing I'll say, the opera singer, normally she takes the coat off to reveal an Northern Ireland kit. Is she going to put the sheepskin coat on? Is that going to be?
Can I honestly give you an answer to that? There's going to be a very special occasion that night where something might happen that will surprise a lot of people. I can't say any more.
Leave it at that.
Indeed, teasing, Jim, but very noble as well and worthwhile, and we wish you well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Now, waiting it out. This is to celebrate your 75 years in football.
70. Well, no, it's 75 years at Cliftonville Football Club.
Excuse me.
I was ball boy when I was 7 years of age, and the day before the dinner, God spares me, I'll be 82, and it's 75 years I've been ball boy, obviously a member of the committee, then vice chairman for 10.5 years, chairman for 10.5 years, president, and now I'm the club patron. So it's a long time, and I'll be honest with you, without Cliftonville Football Club, and obviously my time at the Irish Football Association, I would never have had the opportunity of having in football what football has given to me. And I have many friends throughout the world, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thanks, Jim. And tell me, where did you grow up? And wasn't you were also big into cricket when you were growing up, weren't you?
Yeah, very much so. Again, cricket's my second love, and I was captain of Ballymena Cricket Club for I played for Ballymena for 15 years and I was captain for 6 of those years. But unfortunately, I was very badly injured, as you know, in a bomb explosion in 1971, which was actually my second wedding anniversary. And I missed the following year, but my leg was broken in 3 places. But it never changed me as a person. These things have happened, and I have always tried throughout my life to bring people together. I have great friends on both sides of the divide, and that's how I want to keep it, and I'm very fortunate. But yeah, cricket was my second love, and I was manager actually of the Ireland under-19 cricket team in 1981, 1983 and 1985, so cricket played a big part of my life as well.
Were you any good, Jim, at playing football and cricket? Were you a batsman, a bowler?
Let me start off with the football. I played football for a team called Joan Mount Albion, and one of the chaps that I played with is actually coming to the dinner. Unfortunately, because I had a serious asthma problem when I was young. And in those days, you played football, Stephen, but you changed behind a hedge. There was no leisure centres, there was no showers. And I took pleurisy, which was quite serious. And I was advised by the consultant to stop playing football because of this situation. So that's why I ended up being at Cliftonville virtually every week. As far as the cricket was concerned, I was wicketkeeper for Ballymena, and I played for Ballymena for 14, 15 years, and had a very happy time there, and I enjoyed the cricket. But I was able, thankfully, to continue playing cricket. But I was goalkeeper when I played for Joan Mount Albion, but unfortunately, because of health reasons, I had to give that up.
Okay, thanks for that, Jim. Now, I want to ask you, and then we'll bring Mark in as well, your views. Cliftonville, your first love in football, and as I said, I have great respect for you because, there are a lot of administrators in world football who you'll not really see at the cold face that often. But, as I say, Jim, leaning against the wall, solitude beside the dugouts, that's just where you're in your element. Now, Cliftonville, over the 75 years, in broad strokes, changes, ups and downs, Jim.
Oh, very much ups and downs. I mean, I remember going to Derry on the train on a Thursday afternoon and we get beat 10-4. And, I went every week. I remember going to Linfield. I can't remember when we ever beat Linfield. But, it was a big part of my life. I didn't want to go anywhere else. And I'll be honest with you, Stephen, yes, ups and downs. Never ever forget, people have said to me, Jim, name me probably the 2 happiest days in your life. Without a shadow of doubt, it was when I was chairman of Cliftonville. We won the league for the first time, I think it was 70-something years, under Marty Quinn. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And obviously, when I was president of the IFA, Larry Sanchez, as you know, was a manager, and to beat England and beat Spain, there were two unbelievable nights. And remember the Spanish team, I don't think had lost a game for 8 years. So, those were real highlights. Yeah, there are downs as well. But no, overall, I've been very fortunate in my life, and I'm very fortunate I was given that opportunity.
Thanks, Jim. Mark, I'll bring you in here. Bit of context. I'm a little bit younger than Jim and a little bit older than you, perhaps. Like I remember '79 very well. I remember the changes. I remember the changes in the city, and I remember the changes in the demographics in North Belfast. So '79, the Red Army and all that was going on back then, it was fabulous. And then I suppose you do go on. I mean, Roy Coyle, I have to say, would always said, like in the old days, Cliftonville didn't really feature. They weren't really, as you said, but they rose. 1998, you'll remember. So 98. And then Tommy Breslin. That's your memories of the club, probably, Mark, and more recently even.
Yeah, because '79 I wasn't born, just to throw that one in. Make 2 years feel good. In terms of, when Marty Quinn was the manager, it was an incredible time. That's when I was starting in journalism, first couple of years. And when I was growing up, Cliftonville weren't a side challenging. I would go to Linfield matches every week, and, they normally beat Cliftonville. And obviously it was back in the days when all the games were at Windsor Park, which must have been an absolute nuisance for people like Jim. And like when you're younger, you go and watch your team, you don't know other people involved in other teams really, unless they're scoring 1 million goals. Jim Boyce was never off the TV. That's what I remember, Jim Boyce. And it's something that I learned in later life as well. That was the reason, because Jim always fronted up.
Always.
Jim always, no matter what happened, if there was some sort of sectarian nonsense involved in connection with Irish League football, if there was good things happening, no matter what it was, Jim would always be in front of the camera, in front of journalists, and he would always talk about it. And maybe when I was younger, I didn't quite realise that was the reason behind it, but it's something that I always have to give him credit for.
Coming on there, Stephen, to what Mark has said, I believe, and I always did believe, that journalists had a job to do. And I felt, whether I was chairman of Cliftonville or whether I was president of the IFA, I never hid behind social media. I never did social media. I believed if I had something to say, I was better saying it openly and publicly. People had a right to disagree with me. It's a democratic society. I never had a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is some of the rubbish that appears at the moment on social media that people tell me about, and some of the abuse that people are having to take, which I think is wrong. If someone ever wanted to come and speak to me, I never ran away from them. I would have spoken to them. They could have had their point of view, I would have had mine, but I believe that's the way in life that things should be done. And sadly, in this modern day and age, that's not how it's done.
It's not, Jim, and funny, I'll hark back to 1998 because, I was in journalism a couple of years, and it was fantastic because the Cliftonville of that time, now Cliftonville was a wild place. I mean, I remember that day when they were waiting, and the Linfield finished an hour, off an hour later.
Korean.
And do you remember, wasn't there one of the former players, didn't he run on the pitch and score penalties naked or something like that? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it was a sort of a wild bit of cracking.
It was unbelievable.
And the boys were all, and I knew all the team. I got to know all the team members, Tim McCann and Smalley and Flinner and all, unbelievable. They were in drinking the cans of Harp and whatever else. Like, there was no back doors in Cliftonville. There was certainly no back doors in Marty Quinn.
No.
A wonderful man to this day.
We're friends to this day.
Aye.
We're friends. I mean, people don't realise that between 1995 and 1998, Frankie Parks did a very good job at Cliftonville. Frankie decided that he couldn't do any more. And I remember going and speaking to Marty Quinn at the Ulster University of Jordanstown. And I had to plead with Marty to take over the job, to be honest with you. Now, this started off by winning the six-a-sides, if you remember, at Dundonald Ice Bowl, and we won it. And I remember saying to Marty, this could be the start of something. I know it's only the six-a-sides, but this could... The following year, we won the County Antrim Shield. The year after that, we won the Gold Cup. The year after that, which was incredible, we won the league, and we won the County Antrim Shield again. And I think then I finished as chairman because of the connection with the IFA. There was too many complications. We won the Charity Shield when we beat Glentoran. But Marty Quinn actually won 6 trophies at Cliftonville in those 4 years. And Marty was a tremendous fella, but he seemed to be able, like Tommy Breslin did, who, God rest his soul, I mean, Tommy was one of the nicest people that you could ever meet. Everybody would tell you that about him. But he had a team that wanted to play for him and they wanted to perform. And Marty and Tommy seemed to have that knack of bringing people together. And obviously, they produced the goods.
Undoubtedly. I mean, we feel very fondly of Marty, and although I did kick Marty in a friendly game one time, and I think he
You're
did.
brave.
He menaced me, and that was enough for me. You know what I mean? All right, Marty, fair enough. Sorry about that. But a great fella. Now, Jim, we could talk about unicorns and rainbows all day, but there are highs and lows.
Yes.
So you've talked about some of the wonderful highs you've had at Cliftonville, and the journey at Cliftonville came on, and you went with it as well. Tell me about the turbulent days, if you don't mind. Now, I'm going to leave it to you because...
No, I'll be quite honest about this. There were some very, very turbulent days. I mean, probably the worst day was Cliftonville played Celtic. Jack McGinn was the chairman of Celtic, and we were very good friends at that time, and he brought Celtic over to play Cliftonville. Unfortunately, there was a serious incident up in West Belfast the Sunday before the match. A young boy lost his life by a rubber bullet or a plastic bullet. That night was a carnival at Cliftonville Football Club. It was a carnival. And suddenly the police rushed into the ground. Unexpectedly, I've got to be honest with you. And all hell was let loose. Fires were lit. The match had to be stopped, I think 15, 20 minutes before the finish. And I sat and cried. I'll be honest with you. I sat, as you say, on the wall, and I thought, this is a finish at Cliftonville Football Club. The next Saturday, Stephen, we played Bangor. There was 200 people in the ground. And things at that time were very, very serious, because it was very, very hard to keep the club going because there was no money. I remember when I was made chairman of Cliftonville Football Club, 1978. This is absolutely true story. We played Portadown at Clifton. The gate was £222. We played Glentoran on the Saturday, and I had to go around and collect £5 each from members of the committee to pay the wages. We literally had nothing. We had to launch an appeal at that time, and thankfully people from other clubs, especially the likes of Linfield, they were all very generous. We had to raise £30,000 in 2 months. If we hadn't have raised that, they were closing the doors, but thankfully we did, with the help of a lot of people. Shows were run, as you know, Dickie Rock, Red Hurley, various, but I was determined that the club wasn't going to go down, and well, you see now how successful it's been and how things have improved since then, thankfully. And Gerard Lawler, who I think has did a tremendous job in his term at Cliftonville Football Club. He's now the chief executive of Nifl and doing a very good job there. And you've got to give people like that credit for continuing what hopefully maybe started.
Well, I'm going to move on a wee bit just here now. I want to ask you two things, and then because this is maybe going to open it up. What were you doing in the background away from football? What was your day job? And also, then when you answer that, I wanted to bring it up to modern day, because Jim, I was going to say to you, finance and football clubs, it's always a problem. It's always a problem. Now, there's more money in the game, but the players are getting more money, and we're going to talk about investment in the game as well. But what were you doing? You were in insurance.
Well, I was manager. Yes, I was very fortunate. I ended up as manager of Sun Life Assurance. I worked for Sun Life for 31 years. I can honestly say to you, I never had a crossword with anybody in that organisation. Sun Life were eventually taken over by AXA. I got the chance of an early retirement deal, which obviously suited me greatly, because by then I was involved with the IFA, I was involved at UEFA, and subsequently obviously as FIFA Vice President. So it worked for me at a very, very good time. But no, I was very lucky in my day job. Some people thought my day job was looking after Cliftonville every day of the week, which maybe it was, but I make this very fondly. I remember saying, if Sun Life was run the way Cliftonville Football Club was run, we probably wouldn't be here today, because quite honestly, how at times we kept the doors open, I don't know. Thanks,
Jim. Mark, finance, and we're going to talk about investment as well, because it's close to Jim's heart. Like football and finance is always, basket cases here, there and everywhere, because it's a passionate thing and people want success and want to chase the rivals and whatever else. So financial problems in football have never been, or issues or concerns have never been, they've always been there. It's different in the modern day, because clubs like Cliftonville, a members-only club, are being asked to hand over the keys to the castle.
Yeah, and it's a very difficult one. You know, back in the day, as you say, a lot of the talk was anytime there was financial issues, it was clubs potentially going out of business, and that was horrific. And that's happened actually even quite recently, as we know. Korean had issues in Glentoran, of course, but now fans and members, they all want to chase that dream. And sadly, in football now, the only way you really can chase that dream on a consistent basis is get investment. And not everyone's lucky enough to have some millionaire come in and throw money at their club because maybe they grew up in the town or whatever. You know, not everyone's that lucky. And it's a difficult one, but it's a difficult one for fans, because they don't want to let go of their club. You know, it'll always be their club. You know, maybe owners are only custodians, but the reality is it's no longer their club if they accept investment a lot of the time, and you have to be careful which investment you take. And that's why it's been so difficult. You know, I look on from outside what's happening at Cliftonville at the moment, and you know, it seems like the investment talks have been going on since Jim was a ball boy. That's how it feels. You know, and I feel so sorry for everyone at the club. I don't think anyone's covered themselves in glory. And it's just sad, because I would rather be sitting here with Jim talking about more glory days ahead of Cliftonville. Jim can celebrate the way he did when Brezzy was in charge and when Marty Quinn worked his magic.
Thanks, Mark. And it's a very difficult, thorny subject. Jim, I've been working on this, as Mark has, for a long time. I think negotiations with TIG started in August 2024, signed off last April. 88%
it actually started in April, believe it or not.
Yes, indeed. Now, I'm going to preface this, Jim, and we talked earlier on. I have always been in my writings on the subject acutely aware. I know a lot of Cliftonville fans, a lot of friends of mine in the Cliftonville support, just where I grew up and where I went to school and who I played football with. So I know, I've always understood entirely the angst and the dilemma. And we said earlier on, it's around the corner for my club and possibly Mark's club as well. So there's no element of schadenfreude or glee or sort of looking at, no, we're all very fond, and I think from the outside it's very sad. I don't know how close you are to it, but your heart's at Cliftonville. Give us an overview, Jim.
I'll give you all I know about it. I, along with other members in April, when the TIG proposal was put on the table, voted for, reluctantly I may say, but reluctantly I voted for that offer to be accepted by Cliftonville Football Club because, as Mark says, I think everyone is now saying without investment we're really going to struggle. Now that was in April. Things, for whatever reason, broke down between the board and TIG about, I think, July. And another meeting was called, as you know, about the end of August, beginning of September, when the club wanted the members to have a re-vote on the TIG issue. That didn't happen, but a subcommittee was appointed by the club members to go and make a full investigation whether or not this investment was right or wrong for Cliftonville Football Club. Right, we then had another meeting a couple of Monday nights ago, and I'll be honest, I spoke at that meeting. I said, look, this has been going on. Can I please ask a question? Please tell us what the subcommittee recommendation is to the members who deserve to know what the situation is. Sadly, I didn't get an answer to it. It developed into, I'm not saying a shambles, but there was no answer given. As you know, there were other items on the agenda that night, which quite honestly, I didn't particularly want, because I wanted this thing resolved and in the hope that it would be resolved for the benefit of Cliftonville Football Club. It wasn't resolved. And as you know now, TIG, rightly or wrongly, and I will be honest with you, I can understand that it had to come to a conclusion. TIG have now said that they're withdrawing their investment in Cliftonville Football Club. Now, let me say this. The chairman of Cliftonville Football Club, I was one of the people who was delighted when I heard that Kieran was going to become chairman of Cliftonville Football Club. Jared had left and we needed fresh face, but obviously Kieran Harding must have his reasons. But to this day, I don't know what these reasons are. A lot of the members of the club don't know what these reasons are. And now we're in a situation where people, wrongly, are apparently having a go, not very many, but a couple of people are having a go at Jim and Jared Little, who have done a phenomenal job since they took over Cliftonville Football Club. We've won the Irish Cup, we've won the League Cup, we've gone out of 3 competitions on penalty shootouts that, let's be honest, become a lottery. Jim has brought in probably about $500,000 on transfer fees. The team that won the Irish Cup, we've 3 players left from it. The team that won the League Cup, I think we've 5 players left from it. He's not a magician. I mean, at the end of the day, I think to keep the club competing the way the club are competing is a testament to what Jim and Jared have done. And quite honestly, people need to be very, very careful, because I honestly feel if something was to happen and Jim said, I've had enough here, I think Cliftonville Football Club would be the sufferers, because he knows he's got the contacts, he knows the people, and I think as a manager, him and Jared, they've done a tremendous job. And I just, I'm very sad now to see that this investment is gone. It's gone. So what's going to happen from now on, I don't know. There's only one team can win the league. Now, you can pump as much investment into football as you want to do, but at the end of the day, there's only one team can win that league. But at least you've got to try and keep competitive. And I'll be honest with you, the amount of money that's floating about, and that some of the money that I'm told that some of the players are earning in Irish League, it's just unbelievable. And there's some clubs, quite honestly, they'll just not be able to keep up with it. So that's really all I know about it.
Thanks, Jim. That's where Cliftonville and maybe other clubs will be on the horns of the dilemma, because there are certain clubs that have had investment, major investment, and other clubs, maybe like Cliftonville, maybe like Crusaders, maybe even Linfield, are sort of going, what do we do? Do we stick or twist? Do we hang in here and hope, because we cannot compete with these wages being paid? Or do we take a gamble and get investment in and try and accumulate, accumulate and grow? It's very hard to know, Mark, isn't it? And it's a changed game. But then again, I remember, Jim, I'm sure you'll remember as well, like there's players we know in the Irish League now getting 2-3 grand a week, allegedly, should we say.
Allegedly.
But I remember 30 years ago, there was at least one player, a striker in the Irish League, getting a grand a week. So it has always been thus.
Yeah, look, money's always been there. I think just now there's a lot more of it. I keep saying this, it feels like a part-time league with full-time wages, and I don't think that ever ends particularly well. I guess, we said maybe a couple of years ago, the part-time clubs might survive because there'll be a lot of players who can't go full-time, and they're the ones that will filter down to the part-time clubs, the likes of the Cliftonville. Glenavon obviously, took advantage with 3 players from Linfield at the time. But I don't really see that so much now, and you notice even the market's totally changed. You get a lot of players in from Scotland, and I think even to do that, you need money. Yes, you might get them in on a cheaper deal, but it's going to cost money down the line, and that's where I feel for Cliftonville right now. And they're not alone.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Mark, but in the past week, 2 players from Crusaders, who, like Cliftonville, are doing their best to try and compete. 2 players from Crusaders, have given up full-time jobs to take full-time football at Glentoran Football Club. So you're right, that was a case where a lot of people didn't want to give up their part-time jobs to become full-time. But you're finding more and more of them are actually giving up their part-time jobs to take full-time football. And that's making it even more difficult, isn't it, for part-time clubs to compete? Okay, we have somebody at Cliftonville who's been a tremendous player and still is, and that's Johnny Addis. I'm going to make him. Johnny is, I think, a vice principal of a school. He's a school teacher. Johnny Addis is not going to give up that job to become a full-time footballer. And there are some people like him, but there's more and more of them who appear now. You've even seen a manager who gave up a full-time job to go into full-time management, and sadly, he's no longer the manager of that club, so it's a very risky business.
Just before we go on domestic matters in Cliftonville, Jim, right up to this date, who's going to win the league this year, and how's Cliftonville going to go from now to the end of the season?
Well, I'm very fortunate because unfortunately I can't go abroad now because of the situation at home, but I do because I've got a loving family and I've got carers who come in and look after Hazel. So I do get a chance of going to Larne, and I'm going to Windsor hopefully tonight. To see these teams, I will be honest, Larne, in my opinion, are very solid. They're very solid at the back. They've got a super goalkeeper. They're defensively very sound. If you'd have asked me 4 months ago, I would have said Glentoran looked like they had, for the first time, a real chance of winning the league. They're not out of it yet. Coleraine are not out of it yet either, and the money they're spending, I'm sorry, but if I was a Coleraine supporter, I would certainly, if it didn't win the league, want to ensure it finished second. I'm not sure that's going to happen. Linfield, I think, are going to finish without a shadow of doubt in the top 4. Whether they've got enough at the moment, I watched them at Seaview on Saturday. There's something missing in the Linfield team. I feel really sorry for David Healy, who's, let's be blunt, has done a phenomenal job with 5 doubles, and the criticism that that fella takes, it's unbelievable. But that's football, and football managers take the abuse if the team doesn't do well. Sometimes I think the players have to have a look at themselves. But no, you've asked me an honest question. I think at the moment it's Larne's leagues to lose. That's my honest opinion.
Thank you, Jim.